People don't properly understand what a favela is. There's a lot of prejudices surrounding the topic, but today we're gonna shatter them and show the real Brazil.
Carlos has spent his entire life in Rio de Janeiro's largest favela, the legendary Rocinha. He invited me to stay at his place when I came to Rio, and I decided to spend the day there. Guys, we're entering the Favela Rocinha. It's the largest favela in Rio and basically in all of Brazil. Various estimates state that more than 100,000 people live here, but nobody knows how many exactly. There's no way of conducting a genuine census. All the people living in these houses have claimed ownership through squatting. Part of the houses have already been legalized somehow, and part of them haven't. And so there are no external rules enforced here whatsoever, except for the rules of Rocinha. Favelas are considered the most dangerous place in Rio de Janeiro. If they're spoken about in the news or films, then it's announcing crime, violence, theft, and so on.
This happens in the poorest regions of Rio, known as favelas.
Brazilian favelas, where violence and poverty can be a lifestyle. On operation on the ground and on the roofs of houses, in the houses of the largest favelas in Rio. Most of the killings happen here, in favelas that are controlled by the drug gangs. The drug gangs of Rio de Janeiro aren't like anything that I have seen before.
What you're about to see today might permanently change how you imagine favelas.
You can't shoot. You can't shoot where you're going. All right, don't film where we've come to now.
Okay, don't film now? All right.
We'll get a bike, and afterwards you can shoot the whole road.
You can't film anything beyond this fence here.
You'll see the armed men, but you can't film them.
I wasn't filming the militants, but it turned out even having my camera on was a big no-no.
No.
I can't hear either.
Not here.
Not here. Carlos permitted me to turn my camera on only after we'd got our bikes and ridden off. We're riding upwards through Rocinha on motorcycles, simply because maneuvering around the hillsides is pretty tricky. All of the favelas are built on hilly lands. But this was the least of our worries. The trouble is that, they're beeping at me. Oh. A guy catches up with me, one of the armed men. He's pointing a pistol at me and beeping his horn, demanding that I stop, and then he just grabs my backpack. I'm led back to the armed men, and while walking, I managed to turn the camera on that's poking out of my backpack, shooting a 360 angle. I'm a walking bag of nerves. Check it out. Here's a guy sitting in slippers and shorts, and he's holding some sort of chrome rifle with a sniper scope. And then behind him is a teenager with a sawn-off. He looks about 16, and I have no clue what they're thinking at all. They're taking me to this militant here. He's holding an assault rifle. He's the boss around here, and I later found out that he's one of the so-called lieutenants of the Red Commando cartel, the main gang in Rio. The lieutenant is responsible for both defending the turf and for the spot where gear is sold in the favela. In the next episode, I'll show you an interview with one of these fighters.
Show him your camera. Show him the camera.
You've got armed teens around, and at that moment, I genuinely didn't know how things were going to turn out. But those around reacted to all of this like it was an everyday scene. This woman here, I thought that she had decided to come help me, while in fact, she was just walking by. But once the fighters had watched the video, they let me go, and we carried on riding. In the end, they let me go. They said, all right, no worries. There was nothing on the tape. I genuinely didn't film them because I'd been warned not to, and it truly is dangerous. You can genuinely get killed for this. They let us go. We'll get up the mountain, and then I'll explain.
Put it away, please.
All right.
Just please.
Wow, this is so beautiful, you guys. Oh my God, wow.
This is the city, Stas. This is my city. You see the lake over there? We call it the heart of Rio. You see it looks like a heart, right?
Right.
It's the only spot from which you can see Christ the Redeemer and Sugarloaf Mountain.
I think this is one of the best places in the area to look at all of Rio.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Wow.
You can even see the other side of the bay from here. Look, that's not even Rio there.
This place is, of course, very beautiful, but could you please explain to me what exactly was that? Because I'm trying to get my head around all of this.
I'll tell you. But first, listen to this one story, okay? Take a seat. Yeah, that's what my life is every day. That's how I live. And they all make tales about us, the movie guys in their studios, the writers and researchers in their expensive apartments, the journalists. Yeah, the journalists always come up with something, you know? So whatever happened with us, we still couldn't film it. All this is caused by the media. You're a victim of the media. Those guys are also a victim of the media. Now tell me, I got a question for you. Who has the power? The guy with the rifle or the guy with the camera? You tell me. For the guy with the weapon fears the guy with the camera. So who has the power? The guy with the camera. He has the power.
Sure, but actually, when they'd caught me, I felt like they had more power.
They weren't too elegant, that's true.
But armed teenagers don't just stand in the favelas for no reason. These are a kind of block post. Firstly, they're at the entrance, where most often you've got the most weaponry. Second, they patrol the surrounding jungle because the police and competition often come through there. Now, inside the favela itself, people stand armed only by the so-called boca de fumo, which is the slang term for the place where drugs are sold. I won't be able to show these points on YouTube as the platform deems this as propaganda, even though I'm not propagandizing anything. Rather the opposite, but find our episode about boca de fumo via Telegram. The link is in the description. Without you, I don't think those guys would have let me go.
Without me, they'd have asked you to show your camera and check the whole thing video by video to see whether you hadn't filmed something you shouldn't have. You need to look from a distance, you know? If you see places with weapons, don't film them.
It seems to me that
when we went into that tent,
yeah,
into that market, we ended up near those guys. I just wanted to show you the food market. That's what was important to us. But they saw the camera and decided you were shooting them. I told you, we don't do that here. And not because they have weapons, you know? It's a question of respect.
Well, yeah, but
that video then appears in the internet and the police will come and fuck them.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I felt then. The first moment when he grabbed me, I thought, wow, and I can see that he's got a gun, too. And it's not just a pistol, it's this huge pistol. And I realize, wow, I'm done for. I'm genuinely done for.
Yeah, I remember you at that moment.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm literally going to get killed right now. I just started to shoot, and they were already going to kill me. And then he says, okay, let's go. And then there's this other guy with this huge rifle, and I'm like, wow, geez, that's twice. I'm done for. Twice. Yeah, a Kalashnikov, yeah.
A Kalashnikov?
Yeah. But then, step by step, they turned out to be rather nice guys. Because after 5 minutes of chatting with them...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you were both scared, you and them. At that moment, you were both very similar emotionally, you know? Thank God I was around to explain to them all what was going on. They're just really scared of cameras, you see? But they can't use their weapons for no reasons. They hold them to demonstrate their power.
The film Fast 5 shows gangs in the favelas carrying huge rifles and not hiding them. I used to think that this was exaggeration for the movie, but it turns out that this is pretty much the exact truth.
This was where Fast 5 was filmed. In this part here, you see? In my favela, each spot pays the police 15 to 20,000 pesos a day to not touch them. Honestly, it genuinely pisses me off. Because these guys are generally good guys at heart, you know? All these guys selling dope, they're not necessarily villains. They're making a living for their families. They don't want to earn $100 a month because now, that is the real crime. They need to feed their families and they want to earn $200 a month. And so, they become monsters. That's how it is, you know? That's my drone.
Wow. Wow.
Just look at this, man.
Carlos brought me here when I asked permission to fly a drone over the favelas. But generally, this is a big no-no due to the armed men we spoke about already. I can't tell you how I managed to fly a drone here. I just have to mention that Carlos had nothing to do with it and I flew on a different day. Otherwise, he might get in trouble. The gangs controlling the slums don't just shoot down drones, but also helicopters that might fly by. After several choppers were shot down by bandits, civilian helicopters, which are extremely common in Rio de Janeiro, began to fly only over the sea. The favelas of Rio de Janeiro are controlled traditionally by 3 cartels, and all of them started out basically as political parties. This is what the gangster map of Rio de Janeiro now looks like, compiled by the authoritative Brazilian organization Fonte Segura. The Red Commando controls almost the entire center, north and west of the city, the most populated favelas. The militia, the east, while the rest are scraps. In 2017, Rocinha was also taken by the Red Commando.
You ready, Stas?
Yeah,
We're gonna walk around and you're gonna see a lot of beautiful spots here, okay?
let's go.
Clip, drop 100 on his hip. All I see is blue faces. You would thought I was a.
It's the middle of the day now, guys, but at the same time, you completely feel like it's already evening because light practically doesn't get through to these narrow alleyways. Just look how close the doors sometimes are. There's one door and then literally half a meter, not even that, 20 centimeters in a second door, another 20 centimeters, a third. So inside there, the apartments are basically corridors. You go in and there's space for a bed, space for a table, and that's it. Nothing else. There's very often no space inside favela apartments.
I'm gonna show you how people receive mail here. We don't have addresses here. In favelas, since there are no roads, the mail remains at the bottom. And when people leave work, they find and take what's theirs and then head on.
Instead of addresses, favelas have street and alley numbers, and everyone on the same street just knows each other.
Look at this. This is a mailbox. I'll explain to you how it works. Come here. So here's a credit card. Nobody will take it. We respect each other. Mutual assistance is very important in the favelas. I'm not gonna steal this from here because I might need this person's help in the future. If I come to him for sugar, he'll give it to me. If I ask for an umbrella, he'll give me one. If I have nothing to eat, they'll give me something. And that's why we respect each other. And this letter will remain here, because in the future, I might need my neighbor. And that's why we keep the doors open here.
Are you sure it's a credit card? Let me look.
Just feel it.
Yeah. Wow. A person was sent a credit card. It's been put here, and they're not afraid that someone will steal it or take it and use it to pay for things. Here's another credit card.
There are several of them.
Yeah. There are a lot of credit cards here.
Yeah, there might be a dozen.
Wow.
Today must be some kind of delivery day.
Wow, you guys, right in the middle of the favelas, there are bank cards just lying here. They might not be activated, of course, but in theory, they could be swiped, but nobody takes them. And yet Rio is hands down the world capital of street theft. People will steal here while being filmed live.
This favela is the largest in South America. At least 160,000 people live in my area, but 50% of the people who live in my area live below the poverty line, which is $1.50 a day. 80,000 people live like this. Surprise, surprise, Stas! At the same time, we live between two of the richest areas. Down there is what we call Norwegian Rio, the best social security and infrastructure in the entire city. Renting an apartment there ranges from $5,000 to $15,000 a month. And now on the other side of my favela, roughly where we met, a little further on from that, there's an area called San Conrado, which is one of the most expensive places in Brazil. And if you want to buy an apartment there, believe it or not, you will pay from 1 million to 5 million American dollars. So how do you explain to me 80,000 people living on less than $1.50 between two areas as rich as these?
Carlos is talking about this. Right at the foothills of Rocinha, there are high-rise buildings with expensive apartments. Each courtyard has a swimming pool and a tennis court, and next to it is one of the most expensive shopping centers in all of Brazil. It's funny that the favelas of Rocinha and the condominiums of San Conrado share the same metro station, and in the mornings, residents of both meet on the same escalator. And then on the other side of Rocinha is the aristocratic district of Leblon.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The 30 is back.
Don't shit yourself.
Victor is taking me to his house in the favela. I asked to see what it was like inside.
So you see the wires there? I pulled them from a neighbor, right? That's how we pinch electricity here, I'll show you. I'm gonna give you a closer look, okay? Come on, come on. So I've been building this house myself from the very start. I've been touching it up for 6 years now. First we had land, we cleared it. My friends and I dug out the foundation, and I did all the concrete myself. I poured in the concrete pillars, I laid out the bricks, and I'm continuing to build upwards.
He also hooked up the electricity himself. Practically no one in the favelas pays for light.
We have a highway running from there which we take from, but somebody pays surely. The businesses that are there. What are you talking about, man? Nobody pays here. It's too expensive, bro. Just imagine what the salaries are here. We don't even have enough for any electricity. Well, look, okay, the rich folk on the asphalt pay 300, 400, and sometimes 500 reals for electricity per month. I mean, how much can someone pay? Here they got salaries of 1,200 reals. Like, holy shit, 500 reals for light? And then water on top of that, and food? There's just not enough to go around.
In fact, favela residents don't pay for water either. Here in the favelas, weapons are a part of the culture, right? Because I see how people walk past other people who are carrying weapons and they don't really care. Take a look at the eyes of Victor and his friend. That's not because of my question. Didn't you catch anything? Let's go back a little. Stop. And now check out who's coming from around the corner. A guy with a huge assault rifle. Victor's eyes get huge because of the fact that he realized that we'd filmed the guy, but we blurred out his face so we don't get anyone in trouble. A guy just went past with a huge weapon.
Because they patrol around here.
Because this is their path, I'm told. Therein lies the difficulty of filming in the favelas of Rio. A person armed to the teeth with automatic rifles, machine guns, even grenade launchers can pop out of literally anywhere. Later that evening, I was walking around the favelas with Carlos, and we were constantly having this problem.
Turn the camera off.
Look, the guy has 2 assault rifles and on his, wait, you can't see here, a pistol. So why so much? I have to get rid of the camera. As we walk through these narrow back streets, Carlos constantly says, put away the camera. We constantly meet people who are very heavily armed. We're talking straight up automatic rifles, machine guns, pistols, the whole 9 yards, and they're customized with huge clips. So basically...
We're coming up to the church.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. I have to put it away again. So I'll finish talking here and then we'll move on. In theory, I could shoot them already because everyone is so used to me that they don't pay attention to my camera. But if I do film them, I mean, I already did, but if I show you and then Carlos, well, he'll be killed. That's why I won't show these shots, so sorry.
So look, when you get into this, when you get a gun, you join a gang, you kind of start to feel like a man, okay? That topic pissed me off. Like, oh, I have a gun and I'm so cool. No, it's all bullshit. It's status, you see? So like you have the money, you have the girls, they give you a bike, a machine gun. It's just a way to show your power, right?
But do you somehow train the children here how to handle this stuff? Because I've seen full-on children holding huge, simply huge guns, and I'm not sure that they even know how to handle them.
They don't know shit. They're not taught at all. There's no special training or whatever happens there. Most often it's just, and if they're a good find, they bring the gun along with them. A guy comes along, he says, I want in. He's given some tasks. Take this there, bring this here. Here's a guy to cover you just in case. And soon enough, you've got your own pistol, and then a big gun.
So from an early age, children not only play with pistols, but also begin to imitate real bandits. But let me ask, from time to time, are there shootouts here?
Especially on New Year's Eve.
I've seen these videos of shootouts in the favelas.
But you see, it's not the favela shooting the cops, it's the cops that shoot at the favela, to show the city dwellers that we ensure your safety. The shootings between the favelas themselves are over. They're in the past, or almost in the past. It's only the police who put on these shows. They come here to film their shows, and we die during these shows, because it's forbidden to kill cops here just like that.
You'll find holes in the walls like this at the entrance to many favelas. These are all from bullets, right?
Yeah, when they enter the favelas, they start to shoot. Turn your camera off again. Funny story. Today's Friday, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we know, everyone knows that on Monday, next Monday, the police will come. You know why?
Why?
How did the dealers find out that the police are coming?
How?
Because they are friends. The police say, okay, give us a kilo of dope, 2 guns, walkie-talkies, something else, and we'll show on TV that we are fighting with you. Yeah? And the dealers tell us that the police are coming. The dealers themselves hit the road, but they warn everyone not to go out into the streets because, well, they might get shot. The cops killed my brother.
Your brother?
Yes, my brother was killed in 2010. My brother was 17 years old, and in 2016, my nephew. I said that right, yeah? My nephew was here on this square. And they came in a cavarao. A cavarao is like an armored truck. So yeah, the cops entered in cavaraos. My nephew, he ran away. But the cops were already hiding somewhere in the building. I don't know exactly how to say it in English. And basically, they started shooting. There was a group of teenagers there. My nephew fell down. He started asking for help, and he was shot down. My nephew was also killed by the police.
So your nephew was selling drugs, right?
What?
Was your nephew selling drugs? Why was he killed?
Well, yes, he did, but for me, this wasn't a war against drugs. I consider this a war against people, and black people at that. We have a deputy in Brazil, and this deputy has a helicopter, okay? And on his farm, the police found 5 tons. How do you say it in English? No, half a ton. No, 0.5 tons.
Oh, 500 kilograms.
Right, 500 kilograms. And not once did that deputy end up in prison. You know, people from the city say to me, oh, Carlos, favelas are dangerous. But they don't know shit. When they call favelas a dangerous place, they accuse the 794 communities together that they are dangerous. When they call favelas dangerous, they call 2.5 million people dangerous, meaning I am dangerous. All these children are dangerous. My neighbor, Maria, is dangerous. The guy at the bar is dangerous. Do you know why? People here are poor. You can see that for yourself. You can see it in our clothes, in the way we look. And you think when we pass by a policeman, he starts to think that maybe I'm not a bad person?
Rocinha favela is actually like one large factory where everything is brimming with activity. Something is being made. Like there you have repair shops, and here we have some stalls selling things, and somewhere there'll be sewing clothes, somewhere they'll be fixing motorbikes, and it's just that you get the feeling that you're constantly in a bustling factory, only in a factory that looks very unusual, just like that. So these are like bar streets here in Rocinha, where you have bar after bar with people sitting outside and relaxing. Here's a bar, and there's another bar over there, and there's another one there. And this is all for the locals. And now, guys, take a look at the sidewalks here. Notice how clean they are. I don't want to say that it's as clean here as in, I don't know, Japan, for example, but it's really quite clean. And it's obvious that people clean up here, and constantly at that. There's no garbage lying around. There's no, well, I mean, of course, you're gonna have the odd cigarette butt here and there, but there are a few of them. So it isn't a pigsty here, that's for sure. This building is called a barraca. These are the very first buildings that were in the favela. They were made from whatever was lying around, from iron brought from the garbage can, from wooden planks also taken from garbage or scrap heaps, and a whole trend has even appeared in Brazilian culture called barraca, when a work of art is made from just about anything. And now this song is called Barraca.
Barraca is the name of a house. A wooden house like this one. These are the old houses in the favela. 50 to 60 years ago, all the houses used to be like this. Made from, how do you say, recycled material. Material from a landfill. But now 95% of houses are built from bricks and concrete. And cars don't get here. No transport makes it here at all. So everything that you see around you, people have brought here on their own shoulders.
All right, guys, now I want you to just stop and imagine that something you own has broken, like a washing machine, and it's standing there and it's broken, and you need to take it from here to get it repaired by navigating these narrow streets here. Cars won't come out to you here, so let's say you need to build something here, or you might need to get a load of bricks up here, or your sewage pipes might have disconnected. Well, here, guys, all of that work is put on you, meaning that if you see a house in the favelas, just imagine that that entire house has been brought here by somebody in backpacks, little by little, brick by brick. So you brought your entire house here like that, right?
Right.
People just dragged it all by themselves.
All of it, everything.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, it's really heavy.
Cement, stones, food, everything. Simply everything.
In such conditions, it is simply impossible to survive alone, which is why life in a favela forces you to communicate with your neighbors, to help them, so that they in turn help you. Walking through the favelas, I was constantly amazed at how many people all of my guides knew. For the huge city that is Rio de Janeiro, such relationships with your neighbors are a rarity. Some parts of the favela are already completely dark and super, super narrow alleyways. It even gets dirty around here, so you can't really say that all favelas are clean. They can even be a total mess here. But nevertheless, you see here how people try laying tiles down or plastering the concrete. Yeah, by adding a touch of beauty around here. And check out the kids, they're smiling at me. They live here, but in the very, very poorest part of the whole favela. And that said, there are even poorer, even more favela-like areas. So, like, this is at least a concrete-laid part of the favela. So, check it out. Just take a look at how the houses, you know, it really is like when someone throws dice on a table. They roll off in all directions, and wherever they land is where they land. That's basically the houses here. Now check this out. Light doesn't get through here at all, despite the fact that it's a street. This is an actual street, but the houses here have grown so close to each other that light simply does not get here at all. And look at this, guys. Where I'm stepping into now, it isn't an archway. It's not an arch. It's a street, okay? There's no arch-like covering above me. It's just the houses are so close together, and you have thick wires running underneath them. I just get the feeling that I'm walking along a corridor, even though it's actually a street with houses here. You see? There are even some kinds of businesses here. There, see, you've got an office. And again, just look at the care people take when decorating their houses. I mean, fair enough. Here it's been crafted from some corrugated metal that they found somewhere in a scrapyard. And here you've got brick tiling, and that's been painted. And well, at that, it's not a shoddy job. There's no spots, there's no leftover specks of paint. Here the gating's been very carefully painted. You've got green plants to give the balcony a really nice feel. The people here, they try to make their everyday life as comfortable as possible. Street water, as you can see, it's flowing along the street. So that's now going to pour onto me. And I can hear the sound of water here. The sewage sometimes literally comes out onto the street. Everything runs along here. So here, guys, in apartments under construction, or rather, it's being fixed up. Just to give you an idea of the size of a typical apartment in a favela, you see the tiles are being laid here. There'll be a bed here, and there'll be a kitchen there, a small toilet. There's a shower stall over there, and I wonder, do we have water? Well, there should be. Not yet. Wait, okay, yes, there is water.
You see, I tiled here and here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be gorgeous.
Actually, I wanted to tell you that I haven't met anyone in Brazil who is more welcoming than the people here in the favelas. I mean, as a baseline, Brazilians are really welcoming, really happy, bubbly, and smiley. But in the favelas, it's like that times 100. And besides that, just FYI, this is the only place where... So I'm walking now with my camera in hand. I've got bikers riding past me, and I know that I don't have to worry here. No one's gonna be like, hey, are you nuts? Someone's gonna snatch that from you. I know that they won't do that here. I know that it's safe here. Naturally, I have mixed feelings about everything that I've seen here. On the one hand, incredibly kind, cheerful, responsive people who help each other, who live in the same community. On the other hand...
Stop, Stas. Finish up there. Just finish shooting there.
Oh, okay. I can't go any further and film. On the other hand... Well, like people with guns at intersections, children with weapons. Some of them are 12 and 13 years old, and they're carrying these huge machine guns. I mean, that can do nothing but inspire fear. So it's a mixed bag. I don't know. What do you think of it?
When you were flying to Brazil, I'll bet you thought, when I get to Rio, I want to visit a favela. We agreed that you'd live here for 24 hours, remember? But wait, this is such a dangerous place, as they say, and you've decided to come here. Well, of course. Do you know why? Because you have the power to decide for yourself, right? But then you find yourself in front of a favela and you think, oh, should I go in or should I not? Just because you met the wrong people. But you are here to make dreams come true. Why are you asking if you should go or not? Well, that's because when you saw the people here, you remembered everything you've been told about us before. And then you had power, whereas now you have doubts. And then the Brazilians on the news tell you don't go, the place is dangerous. You had power and then you had doubts, and now you have fear. And the question is, should you go or not? This system will never give you the answer. But I'll give you the answer right now, okay? Of course, you should go. Thank you for coming. You are one of the few who came to such a place, who can go back home and say, hey, I've been to Brazil 100% because I know two Brazils in one. It's like that. Okay, Russia.